Hey, what's up? This is Odolena from Odolena Digital. Welcome to my channel. Please be sure to subscribe if you're new here. Every Sunday I post a video about some of my favorite books and topics which I like talking about. Today's topic is a book called The Righteous Mind: Why Good People Are Divided by Politics and Religion by Jonathan Haidt. Please be sure to subscribe. I'm making very cool videos every Sunday about different topics. And today's topic is actually coming right on time after I posted several videos which got really mixed reception. So I posted some videos, you can check them here, on my opinions about Ayn Rand and Atlas Shrugged, and also even more divisive video turned out to be the review of Thomas Sowell's book Black Rednecks and White Liberals. I got so many people who were absolutely subscribed to the ideas under these videos, loved these writers and these books and the reviews, and others who absolutely hated them and therefore hated me as well. So today this is kind of like a middleman, sobering book which I would like to talk about, and I think a lot of us need it right now, especially when things are getting so polarized everywhere in the world. Like, you see this kind of fights about what is right, what is wrong, especially around politics, religion, who is correct, whether we should act this way or that way, especially with a lot of moral questions popping up now with the development of technology, genetics, different new currencies, technology, automation. All these things are kind of going through these righteous minds. Let's say someone has the idea what is right and it's impossible to be convinced. So here in this book, actually, the writer talks really about why it is impossible to win an argument with somebody on these topics, what is standing behind it, kind of what is kind of the hidden element of it, and how we can actually find still common language even in a more and more polarized world. And I think this is absolutely important and valuable nowadays. One of the early concepts in the book is about the moral concept. So he talks really about the fact that there are different studies which support different ideas. So there is the rationalist type of idea which dominated science for a long time, and that was that we kind of figure out moral rules on our own. So even children, let's say different stages, around the age of 3, 4, kind of have a natural understanding of what is fair and what is unfair, that you shouldn't harm someone, and that you should be good to the others. This kind of collaboration understandings, which they believe that they were kind of somehow by nature in us, let's say like an innate moral compass that we have. And he found a very important gap in this theory, that there is the element of culture missing. So for him, he kind of shows this example where he was able to live and stay in India for some time in a very different society, get to know people very well from different parts of society, some from different castes, different professions, different family status. And he was able to understand. It was, for him, he even describes it as the Matrix moment, where Neo is offered the red pill and the blue pill. And he kind of describes that the moral code is something like a matrix that we are part of. And when people from different parts of this matrix, let's say that grew up in a different version of the matrix, meet, it's impossible for them to get along on subjects where they're absolutely contradicting. So he talks a lot about the fact that these studies were to big extent made in Western countries, let's say with children from America, and this is a very small representation of the humanity. The majority of the world actually lived for thousands of years, and also including the Western world up to the beginning of the 20th century, lived in a very different way with very different set of moral compasses. Whereas now in the West we have a very narrow understanding of what is moral and immoral, and the only judgment really is whether you're doing harm to anyone or whether you're not doing harm to anyone. Whereas he finds out that other matrices around the world have a much richer understanding about what is moral and immoral, which includes things that would not harm anybody. And it's difficult even on a logical sense to justify why this is immoral. But people still, on an intuitive sense, still feel even sense of disgust or sense of wrongness about these actions. One example is a question that he asked a lot of people from a variety of different classes and different countries. And that was this hypothetical story. Let's say a guy goes into a shop, buys a frozen chicken. He takes the chicken home, he has sex with the corpse of the chicken, then he bakes the chicken, cooks it, and he eats it. Is there anything wrong with that? Nobody knows about this. It's happening in his own house. It was really interesting for him to find out that the only people who found that this is okay were students from his psychology class, whereas everybody else who asked, including Americans, let's say from a more working class or poorer people from Brazil and from India, found that this is absolutely intolerable and disgusting. But they couldn't understand and couldn't describe why. Even when he asked them why, they were really surprised that he's asking such a question, as if this didn't need any explanation. And here he talks about the fact that there are several different dichotomies on which moral codes are formed, and these pillars are very, very important in most people's lives. But let's say because we tend to live in echo chambers, so all the Western educated, rich, industrialized and liberal thinking people live in the same group, they believe that everybody else thinks like them, and if they don't, they must be evil. Whereas he finds out that there are different matrices and different ways of understanding, and it doesn't mean that people are evil or that people are mean to each other. It's just that they have a very different code of what is moral and immoral, and even we are not a representation of the whole humanity. He talks that especially Western civilization, Western Europe and the United States is a very small portion and is very different as a way of living, as a way of moral code and understanding than the rest of the world. So it's difficult for them to make judgments about what is right and what is wrong when they don't know enough how the rest of the people think. So he talks about these four pillars. There is the pillars of fairness and harm. So this is the main pillar of the Western civilizations. Like, if you don't do harm to anybody, then everything is fine, and this is morally justified. It might be weird, it might be perverted and disgusting, but you're not harming anybody. There is consent, so it's fine. Whereas in other countries, this is not the case. Then there are the pillar of loyalty and treachery. So being loyal to your country, being loyal to your religion, be loyal to your family and set of relatives, belonging to a society. The values around authority and liberty. There are nations that are much more prone towards liberty seeking, and nations that are prone more to authoritative and submissiveness. He talks a lot about conservatives in the United States have become over time way more prone towards liberty and kind of see themselves as defenders of liberty, whereas the far left has been prone more to a more authoritarian type of government, whereas the state is taking a lot of decisions. Then he talks about the dichotomy between sanctity and impurity, which in the West side we completely ignore sometimes in Western world, whereas it's absolutely crucial for more religious societies. The concepts about what is impure can encompass variety of experiences, like what you wear, who you talk to, your family relationships, who you sleep with, what you eat, all these habits which in the West, like, you're absolutely free to eat whatever you want, meet whoever you want, have sex with whoever you want, and the state or nobody has actually the right to judge you. Whereas in the rest of the world and in a lot of other societies, he finds that this is absolutely crucial. What's very interesting is that he found a lot of similarities between Western, educated, rich people and the visions of other middle class and prosperous people across different cultures, including in Brazil and India. But he found a very strong similarities also in the understandings and, let's say, the moral compass of people who are from a poorer or working class, even from different countries. So here he talks more about that different class and levels of education have a very significant role about the moral compass and what is considered right and wrong in different nations. he also talks about this metaphor about the mind, that the mind is really like a big elephant, which has this huge power, which is full of intuitiveness, of generations and generations of experience and evolutionary progress, and understanding things at gut level, the intuition. And there is the rider of the elephant who is sitting on top and is trying to justify what the elephant is doing. So similarly, when he was asking people what is wrong with if someone takes the national flag and uses it to clean their bathroom as a rag, and people couldn't find and justify why. So they started coming with all kind of explanations why this is immoral, kind of finding out, well, what if somebody finds out and doesn't feel well? What if she drops it in the loo and the loo is flooded? All kind of ways to justify the huge elephant that was telling them that this is wrong, but it was unable to rationalize it. And this is how we actually function. We feel something on a gut level, and then we try to justify it with reason, like try to rationalize it. It talks also about the innate sense of groupishness, that we are 90% selfish, but we are also 10% unselfish and group loving. So groupishness is kind of innate in human nature. We like to belong to a team, we like to belong to a society, let's say being part of a nation, being part of a church, being part of a community, being part of, let's say, a specific group. There are varieties of different teams that you can play for. But once you're part of the team, then a lot of switches are turned on. Let's say the switch around loyalty versus treachery. Are you loyal to a team or you're a treasurer? He gives an example from Inferno, from Dante. The lowest circle of the hell is the one for treacherers. So treachery was considered a huge sin in the past and hugely immoral. We have a sense of belonging. Once you have a sense of belonging to a team, you're ready to justify whatever the team does. And you see, let's say, the right of the team more important than the individuality. Finally, he talks about why the United States nowadays is so polarized, which we keep seeing now. And this book was written about 2016, around the time when Trump became president. And since then, things are becoming more and more obvious. The country is really, really divided. You can see that even at elections, there are all certain states that always vote for a specific party and others that always vote for a specific party. And he tells that this is rather a modern phenomenon, which comes also with the fact that there is more mobility now. A lot of people in the past would live in the same place, so you would have people with different opinions and coming from different parties living next door to each other. Whereas now, with increased mobility, a lot of people tend to segregate into groups, into areas, districts, or even states where they are surrounded with like-minded people, so that they can feel more comfortable. However, this creates this kind of good and evil type of dichotomy within the whole country, because people don't see each other very often, they don't talk to each other very often, they end up into these different matrices. And once you belong to this matrix, it's very difficult for you to understand someone who belongs to another matrix. He gives an example as a book to solve this is How to Win Friends and Influence People, which I did a review before. It's a really great book. I really recommend you to read it, and to read it with understanding that this is not a sales book, but this is a book about understanding people. And the only way that you can understand someone who is completely different, coming from a completely different matrix, is to start seeing the world through their eyes. Try to imagine what it is for them, what is important to them. Try to really hear them instead of saying you're wrong and I'm right, which is never a good way to win an argument. Try to understand what stands behind his opinions, how they grew up, what is important to them, and think about these pillars which societies long ago, thousands of years ago, had as their moral code. So yeah, this is all about this book. It's really great to read. I totally recommend it. A lot of really cool examples and talks about different surveys that were done, psychology, philosophy. You will learn a lot, and maybe you will be more able to understand others when talking, especially about difficult subjects like politics and religion. This is all from me for today. I hope you liked this video. Please subscribe to my channel, and I'll be back with a new video next week.